Harihi Om. Om. Shreem Hreem Kleem Glaum Gam Ganganapadaye Varavarada Sarvajanam Eva Samanaya Swaha. Om Shreem Hreem Kleem Ganeshwaraya Brahmaswarupaya Charave Sarvasiddhi Pradeshaya Vigneshaya Namo Namaha. Om Gam Ganapadaye Namaha. Om Sahanao Bhavatu Sahanao Bhunaktu Saha Vidyam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Gurave Sarvalokanam Visaje Pavaroginaha, Nidaye Sarva Vidyanam Sri Dakshinamurthaye Namo Namaha. Om Sri Guru Pyo Namaha, Sarva Sri Guruve Namo Namaha. Om Satguru Charana Vindabhyam Namo Namaha. Rig-veda, Sai Ram, and welcome to week 11. Where we have traversed every week for the last 11, 12 weeks, right? From the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad to the Chandogya, to the Taititriya, to the Aitreya, to the Kaushitaki, to the Kena, to the Katha, to the Ishavasya, Prashna, and today we have come to the Mundaka Upanishad, right? So, setting the scene, right? Going back to its presumed date of creation, right? You see, one thing you must understand, nobody knows the exact date of creation. Today, everything is recorded. And because we have this cyberspace technology, everything can be accessed from wherever in the world, and you will know exactly where, when, what, who, why. But in the early days, these days of pre-recorded, technology, we don't have. So you can only think when this was done. If Shankara in his time was commenting on the Vedas and he presumes them to have lasted, 4,000 or 5,000 years before him, then, one can only gauge the time frame in which these wonderful heritage has been handed down. As I said to you on many occasions, it is not somebody reading something and then telling you, right? In the early days, it was just Shruti, Smriti. What you can hear, because everything is energy that is floating in the universe, and what you can see, right? That means you see beyond human vision, then you can see something, right? But if you limit your senses, if you limit your sensory perception to the limitations of human capacity and capability, then that's all you can see. If you have an open mind and go beyond that, you transcend beyond your own limitations, then you can see things and you can hear things. Who sets the limitation? You do. Who breaks the limitation? You do. Who has the choice? You do. Simple as that. And that is what the Mundaka says, right? Going back to the 6th century CE, that's the presumed time of creation. And of course, it is dedicated to Gaudapada Rishi, right? He is known as the author. Also, this is one of the Mukhya Upanishad. And in terms of seniority or, significance, it is listed as number 5 as a Muktika Upanishad. In the canon of 108 Upanishads, it is listed in the top 5. And of course, the Veda that it is attached to, or it is aligned with, or it is related to, is Atharvana-veda, right? Atharvana-veda. 3 chapters, each chapter is divided into 2 parts. Now, there's a reason why this is called Mundaka Upanishad. right? Mundakam is also a chapter apart, right? So it's got 3 Mundakams, and each Mundakam is divided into Shreshtas, which is parts, right? In total, it has 64 verses across the, 3 chapters and across the 6 parts, 2 parts in each chapter. These are mostly written as mantras, mantraha. So this particular Upanishad, all the mantras that you get in the Mundaka Upanishad, they are not used in rituals. They are not used in rituals. Rather, they are used for teaching, and they are used to engage with meditation and to engender spiritual knowledge. So Mundaka is very important in terms of your own transition from the Karmakanda practices, which this one talks about, to the Jnana-kanda evolution, right? So how you go has got nothing to do with anyone else, has got everything to do with you as an individual, right? That's very important. Because the entire philosophy of the Mundaka is know thyself. That is the central phrase or focus, know thyself, the knowledge of the self. And Shankara himself has commented many times on this. And I've referred to some of this, his quotations on Mundaka in when I did Bhajagovinda. So, the Mundaka Upanishad contains 3 Mundakas or Mundakams. Right? Each Mundakam has got 2 sections, right? So let me give you a brief overview of each of the Mundakams or chapters before I go into depth into each one of them. First Mundakam is talking about science. Science of what? Science of knowledge. And it says very clearly there are only 2 types of sciences of knowledge. One is the higher level, and the other is the lower level. The higher is called Paravidya. The lower is called Apara Vidya. Apara, like Himsa, Ahimsa, Satya, Asatya. This is called Para, Apara. Para means high. That's why you say Parashanti, right? It's actually Parashanti. But they've shortened the word to Prashanti. That means the highest abode of peace. That's because the Guru is there, right? Now, so it talks about the higher knowledge and the lower knowledge. And then it talks where, some people, they're so engrossed in, what can I say, acts of oblations, pious gifts. And, the days when I used to go to the temple very regularly, right? I used to see people bringing gifts. Gifts, like silver, gold, pure silk, pure cloth, very expensive gifts. For whom? For the god inside the temple. And then these people, the same people walk out, not just here, right? I'm talking also in India, particularly, in India, no less here, but still. They will walk out of the temple and they will not put, 1 rupee to the beggars on the street. So once, where was I? I was in a place, some of you might know this place, right? It's called Tiruchendur. It's one of the houses of Lord Subramanya Muruga. That's where he fought the battle with Tarakasura. And it's, So I saw this man coming to give an entire silver kavacha for the statue of Lord Muruga. Very expensive, probably a few lakhs, 10 to 15 lakhs easily, because the entire top, head to toe. So I followed this man, when he went inside and all that. Because we knew some of the priests there, we could go in with them. So we were in the main place. And then these VIPs were ushered in and given all the importance. And then, of course, they presented the thing. And then they were given a shawl, the garland from the god, all of that. And after a few minutes, they left. We also left, right? We were a big group of, we were on our way from temple to temple. We were doing this yatra before going to Sabarimala sometime in April. It's about 4 or 5 years back. So we followed this man as he walked out of the temple, along the corridors. As you walk out of the temple, those of you who know Tiruchendur, there are lots of beggars who sit and people who beg and all that. Some of them do it as a penance, as a tapasya. They said, I will beg for a whole day if this is my sankalpa. So whatever they pray or wish for. So whatever you can offer, you offer. And always when I go to India, I change money, like, 5 rupees, 10 rupees, 20 rupees, 50 rupees, 100 rupees. So when I go to the temples, I always give 10 rupees out. I gave nothing to the God inside, right? And I'll tell you why. I never give anything to God inside the temple. Never, right? In fact, I don't even do archanas. And this is the problem I always have with my wife, right? I say, why do I need some guy to talk to God on my behalf? Right? But some people don't see things the way you do, right? So sometimes to make other people happy, you go and buy a chit. But I can say what the priest can say. In fact, I can say it better because I'm communicating directly with God. So I don't have to use the language they use. Which is Krishnaya Namaha, Govindaya Namaha, Madhavaya Namaha, Sridharaya Namaha, Rishikeshaya Namaha, Padmanabhaya Namaha, Damodaraya Namaha. I talk, oh Krishna, this is my problem. Are you listening to me? Can you hear me? I talk directly. So I don't need an agent in between me and God, right? And God doesn't ask for these things. In fact, many times I've asked the priests, right? Show me one place in the 4 Vedas, in the 6 Shastras, in the 2 Manusmritis, in the 18, Puranas, and all the Upanishads, where it is written that God is asking you for all of this. Show me one evidence. I can show you hundreds of written evidence where God is saying, serve my people. Jana seva, Janardana seva, Manava seva, Madhava seva. Right? Where? So this Mundaka Upanishad, I'm telling you this because this is what exactly is the focus of the Mundaka Upanishad. Because you want the higher knowledge or the lower knowledge. The lower knowledge is where all these are important. Acts of oblations, giving pious gifts, giving expensive gifts to the temple and doing nothing. Right? When you give something to God in the temple, very expensive, who becomes happy? You become happy because you know you have given something to God. Now, my philosophy is different. My philosophy is when you give something to the fellow on the street who doesn't have food or clothes or whatever, you give something, he becomes happy, he blesses you. When he becomes happy, God becomes happy with you. In fact, he has said, service to man is service to God. That is enough. That is a Mahavakya. Jana seva, Janardana seva. Instead of giving things to God, making God look good, and God is perfect, right? This is man's limitation in his own thinking. Thinking, oh, if I give this Kanga Kavacha, gold Kavacha, or silver Kavacha, God will look extremely good. Oh, Muda, please don't engage that thought with God because God is perfect in every way. Your own limitations. He never asks anything, right? He never asks you anything except for you to be one with everybody else. Treat everybody as a human being. Give, then you will receive. So, change your practices. If you want to grow higher and higher in the knowledge of spirituality, but you keep doing the same old practices, you are not going to move an inch, I can tell you now. I can tell you an inch now. And a few weeks ago, I told you I've stopped praying in my house. It doesn't mean I don't pray. I have stopped doing the ritualistic things that I used to do every morning, getting up at 5, doing the whole thing until 7 o'clock, then I leave for work, right? Now I don't do. When I get up, I just sit in silence. And I do everything ritualistically, but mentally. I just close my eyes, I've done the whole thing. But what I used to take 2 hours to do, I can do it in 10 minutes now. Exactly the same thing, but only thing I'm not there physically doing it. And then I do some traveling. So I always think, like today, this morning, where shall I go? Okay, let me go to Tirupati. If I told somebody I want to go to Tirupati, the first thing they'll tell me is, it's flooded, brother, it's flooded, don't go there now. Fool. I can go there anytime without even leaving my room. Right? So I do that. And I can tell you the experience and the joy you get, it's no comparison, right? Of course, I can only tell you what I experience, right? In order for you to get that same experience, you must do what I'm doing, or to the same level of commitment, dedication. Initially, it may not be, coming forth. But the moment you engage and engage and engage, it will slowly move you. Years and years and years of conditioning at the lower level of knowledge. How can overnight you move to the higher levels? Isn't it? How much of primary school and secondary school have you got to go through before you go to university? And then how much of university studies you go before you qualify in a field? And how much of practice you have to gain before you attain a certain status in that field of profession? You can do that with materialistic knowledge, but you are not willing to do that for the ultimate knowledge of Brahman. Few weeks ago, I told you, in order to realize the Brahman, that is the entire universe, you have to relate to the universe. That can be in your own home, outside your home, in your society, in your community, in your country, regardless of the political situations, regardless of the politicians, regardless of the economic situation, regardless of the social injustices, regardless of everything. How are you connecting with the universal energies to bring some goodness that's going to dawn upon your own country? It's not for you to say, it's not my problem, I'm not a politician, I can't do anything. You are not doing whatever little you can, right? You have the mother who's given you birth, Deha Mata, right? Then you have the mother that gives you the milk, Go Mata. Then you have the land, that's why it's called motherland. When people talk to you, they say, where's your motherland? What is your mother tongue? They ask you, where's your fatherland, or what's your father tongue? No. So, Desha Mata. And then the ultimate, Veda Mata. The 4 mothers you have. So, are you in one universal spirit with all these 4 levels? You cannot say, no one should say that, I can't do anything, I'm not in power. Your thoughts are very powerful. Every day meditate for 10 minutes for the welfare of the world. You mean you can't do that? If you don't experience oneness with the entire universe that is within you and that is around you, that is surrounding you, then how can you go inside and experience that same supreme oneness? That's why I said to you today, beginning, tame the outside energies first before you go in to tame your mind. Because if the radio is there, or some loud noise you can hear, or some noise you can hear, how can you sit in meditation? Because your senses will tell you, look, that noise is there, that noise is there, this one is making noise, that one is making noise. So set the scene. Vibrate the universe and spread the vibration, right? Almost 7.5 billion people in the world. If only 1% did meditation every day and spread the energy of goodness, the world will be at least 15% better than what it is. And this is what I'm asking all of you to do. Every day sit and meditate outward, not inward, outward. Send the energy out. Because you are the center, the focus of the energy. So the Mundaka says, don't do these foolish things. The Upanishad is giving you the essence of knowledge. It's telling you, don't buy expensive gifts and go and give. Look, I'm not saying don't do charity. I'm saying do charity where charity is needed. Because that is right action. Yatho dharma tatho deva, yatho deva tatho jayam. Krishna. So, what you do for God gives you happiness. What you do for God's creation gives that creation happiness. And because the creation is happy, it makes God happy. Because He is happy, He'll bless you. Right? So don't limit what you can get. That's the first Mundaka. It talks about this higher and lower levels of knowledge, right? Keep vibrating in the lower levels. How are you going to come out of it and go to the higher levels? At some point, you need to stop doing all these little things, right? And I'm not asking you to do. I am telling you that I myself have stopped it. So now I can tell you not to do it. I can't be doing all those things and then telling you, oh, don't do this, don't do that. Because He has said leadership by example, right? Do as I do, not do as I say. Mahavakya. The second Mundaka talks about the nature of Brahman and the nature of the self and how those two can be connected by referring these two different levels to the world, the empirical world and the internal world, and how you can use the empirical world to travel inwards and track the path to know Brahman. That's the second Mundaka, the second chapter. The third Mundaka talks about, or rather expands on the second Mundaka, the idea of how you can experience Brahman. He said, for this, you must be prepared to take some risk and you must be prepared to break away from conventions or common practices, right? That's why some scholars, right? I mean, not Shankara, but some of the Western scholars, they refer to the Mundaka as a pantheism theory. Pantheism, monotheism, pantheism, all that, right? That because of all the mantras that are contained in this Mundaka Upanishad, some people refer to it as Mantro Upanishad. So if you read somewhere it's called Mantro Upanishad, it's referring to Mundaka Upanishad because of all the containment of mantras here. Now, Munda means head, okay? And we can say, or as a reference that says, because it's Mundaka, it is the head of all the other Upanishads. It's quite true, because if I was reading the Brahma Sutras some time back, and the first two chapters in the Brahma Sutras, written by the Brahma Bhashya, Adi Shankaracharya, it talks about this Upanishad and what it means. What does the head mean? Head means what? Mashtaka. Swami always says, focus on the Mashtaka, not on the Pushtaka. Have knowledge that will liberate the mind, not bookish knowledge. Move away from Pushtaka, then only Mashtaka will grow, right? So the Mundaka Upanishad begins with an invocation. And the invocation is basically a purification prayer, praying that the eyes only see auspicious things, that the ear only hears auspicious things, right? And the tongue only speaks auspicious things, and the mind only contemplates on that one auspiciousness. How beautiful. Make this your daily prayers, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters. Make this your day. First time you get up, the hand, see your own hand. Why do you need a picture of God? You mean to say after 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years, your age, you still don't know how Ganesha looks? You have to see a picture? You still don't know how Vishnu looks or how Shiva looks or Mother Durga, Mother Lakshmi, Mother Saraswati? You have to see the picture. I've seen you today, Ganesha. No. I've always told you the picture of the God should be sitting here, right in your Agnya Chakra, looking inwards, not looking outwards. Right? In your mind, it should be looking inwards. That same statue should come and look outwards in your heart, sitting in your heart, looking outwards. Because if everybody does that, then heart to heart, you can connect because your heart is looking, the divine energy in your heart is looking at the divine energy in another person's heart. So when you say Sai Ram, the auspicious self is Ram, the other person also can say, looking at that heart to heart, you can say, Sai Ram, I am also Ram, the auspicious self. Whereas inside, you need that jnana. So inside, they should be looking at inwardly here, right here, Agnya Chakra. Right? So it begins with this prayer, and I say you should make this your prayer. Dear Lord, let me only see good things today. Let me only hear good things today, and let me only speak good things today. To do that, I must only see you in my mind throughout the day. What a wonderful prayer. Better than any mantra. Better than any mantra. God, and guide me as I seek to serve your creation. You tell me if there is a better prayer than this. Make that your daily prayer. Right? Because the Upanishad teaches you Brahma Vidya, the ultimate knowledge. And in all these little things that I'm telling you are the extraction of the essence. Essence has been extracted, and I'm giving it to you like that. Take it and practicalize it in your own lives and see how you grow, right? No one can gauge their spiritual growth better than themselves. Yeah. And you can experience it and you can talk about your experience. Wow, I never knew this, right? So now, because I have stopped my daily prayers, physically, right? Don't get me wrong. Mentally, there it's engaged. But physically, I've stopped it. I've stopped going to temples. Because we just don't sing a temple in my heart, a prayer in my soul, a song on my lips, and I sing to you. A temple in my heart, a prayer in my soul, a song on my lips, and I sing to you. Don't just say that. If a temple is in your heart, then why do you go and travel to go and see and then look at it, that little statue there, or the big statue there? You don't relate to it. It's only a statue. It's only a stone. Black granite stone, or bronze murti, silver murti. You are the murti. Don't forget that. Until you recognize that you yourselves are a murti, and you have the capacity through their grace, anugraha, to do their job, you will continue to be looking at God externally. Right? So Brahma Vidya teaches you that you, the Vidya, the knowledge, the wisdom, the jnana is you and God are no different. Krishna told Arjuna that, isn't it? He said, Arjuna, births after births after births after births you have taken. You are Arjuna here today, right? I also have taken births after births after births after births, but I know every birth that I have taken. Remember, Krishna was the 8th avatar, right? I know every single birth I've taken. I know I am God. You should also know you are God, but that only will come when you are aware of that realization. Right? Awareness of that realization is what will tell you that Tattvam Asi, Aham Brahmasmi, Prajnanam Brahma. Right? All this will tell you that you are God. So it's a mystery. Mysteries must be unraveled. If you don't unravel them, then it's a problem, isn't it? Because you will never know what lies behind it. If I put something and then I cover something, with a cloth or a paper or a cardboard or something, you will never be able to tell what is there until you remove the covering, isn't it? Then you say, it's a box. Okay, well, what is in the box? No, you have to open the box and you can see what is inside. Like that, this unraveling is taking out. It's called filterization, right? Where you take out the first layer, the second layer, the third layer. That is why shaving, it's called shaving. make it fine, make it smooth. Like if you take a piece of wood, you have to shave it in order to smoothen and make it nice and glossy, right? So it is called the shaven head, Mundaka, hence Mundaka Upanishad, right? The crest knowledge, or crest of all Upanishads, it is referred to. So why is it called, no, what are you shaving off? Let me put it that way. What are you shaving off? Right? Well, you're shaving off the Maya, the illusion, the untruth, the lack of love. All this you're shaving off, right? So all this, if you shave off from your head, all these are little hairs. When you shave your hair completely off, and there'll be nothing. It's clean, isn't it? Hence, the Mundaka Upanishad says, if you shave off all the impurities from inside your head, then it is a fertile ground for you to plant seeds of divine growth. So it begins, the first Mundaka begins with, it's actually a question that is asked in the third category of the ashramas. There are 4 ashramas, right? Brahmacharya, the Grahastha, the Vanapadishta, and then the Sannyasa. So this question is actually put by the Grahasthas in the second stage of life. And so the question is put to the teacher, right? By what? Through which, if it is known, can everything else become known? Let me say it again. By what? Through which, if it is known, everything else becomes known. A fantastic question. And the teacher says, by knowledge, through knowledge. If the higher knowledge is known, then everything else becomes known. You must understand, if the Shishya or the disciple or the student can ask such intelligent questions, then imagine the master's level, right? Is equal, equipro, like Vyasa, when he was writing Mahabharata, he couldn't find anyone to keep up with his speed and his prose, Vyasa was, that is why in the beginning of the Vishnu Sahasranama, the Vishnu Sahasranama, right? One of the things that can give you moksha if chanted every day, but chanted rightly, right? Correctly. In the beginning, Vyasa is given that status of the Mukhya Rishi. It starts, Vyasaya Vishnu Rupaya, Vyasa Rupaya Vishnave, Namo Vai Brahma Ridhaye, Bhashisthaya Namo Namaha. Vyasaya Vishnu Rupaya. So he's given that status. So Vyasa, when he was writing the Mahabharata, he couldn't find someone because he was just belting away. And people lost, they lost the flow or they couldn't keep up with the pace. So they were struggling. Finally, Vyasa said, no, I need to give this to mankind. This is a heritage, Mahabharata I'm talking about. Then he went to Brahma. He said, what is the problem now? I can't find someone. He said, go to Ganesha. So Vyasa went to Ganesha and said, can you write while I narrate so that we can leave this for the mankind? Ganesha said, I will only write if you, Vyasa, can keep up with the speed of my writing. You see, this is the power, right? So when Vyasa started and Ganesha was writing, I'm talking about the lower level and the higher level now, yeah? So you must relate the story to that. Vyasa was belting away and Ganesha was, he is the speed. Because the mind is in control, the hand moves according to the speed of the mind. If the hand is in control, and the mind becomes weak. So at one point, whatever implement Ganesha was using suddenly broke. And without an iota of a second, without thinking, he just broke the most valuable part of his body, trunk. And he finished. They completed in less than half the time that Vyasa would have taken with anybody else, right? That is why with the Mahabharata, dedication is always given to Vyasa as the author and Ganesha as the writer, the scriber. Now, here, right, how many of us will think and think and think before we give something of little value to us? And Ganesha is showing leadership by example. Look, man, when you want to do goodness, when you want to do charity, when you want to do welfare, do not think for a moment. Give what is most important, most valuable to you, most precious to you, you give. And then you will receive something even more precious. That is the higher knowledge you need. So the Rishi Gaudapada was saying, knowledge, if it is known at that higher level, everything else becomes known because you're vibrating with the universe. You know, you can do time traveling. You know, you can be here, you know, talking, but you can also be present to some other people. How many times you have heard Swami talk about, or devotees talk about seeing Swami in different places, and even, you know, other rishis, you know, Vashishta was seen many times in the Himalayas, you know. I saw Lord Shiva, I saw Hanuman there, you know, I've seen many, you know, you actually see them in person, right? That energy, you are experiencing that energy. So what you see and what you hear, this is what I say, Shruti and Smriti, you know. Passing by one place, you know, if you just shut your ears to the external sound, you can hear the internal sound of walking around Kailash. The Om and the Shiva sound exactly the same. I mean, how powerful is that? You are there in front of Kailash, tracking around it, and you just, and what is accompanying you? Brahma Shabdham. You know, no matter how eloquently I say it, you have to experience it. A dark room, suddenly light comes, you know, you see that brightness, right? That is called Tejas. Tejas you must only experience. You can't read and get it. You can't hear and get it. You can't see and get it. You have to experience it, right? So the Mundaka says, get this higher knowledge, right? And there's first verse of Shankara's in his Bhaja Govindam, that's what he says, isn't it? Bhaja Govindam, Govindam, Bhaja Mudamate, Samprapte, Sannihite Khale, Nahi Rakshati Dukrin Karani. Beautiful. He says, why are you chasing all these materialistic acquisitions, this secular knowledge? All this is not going to save you. What will save you? Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam. Seek God and serve God. And he's already said, serve the God, walking gods, and you are serving the ultimate, right? So that is a point of getting out from using the outside to get inside, right? Aparavidya to Paravidya. So the first Mundaka, again, I stress, it says to you, sacrifices, oblations, pious works, you know, all these are useless knowledge because it only gives you temporary happiness, right? Because it doesn't give you eternal happiness, isn't it? Consistent happiness. So all the mantras in the first Mundakas explain how man has evolved, and because of promises made by one to the other to the one, by many to one, and by one to many, they evolve on the same cycle. Punarjanmaha. Again, you know, Shankara, in verse 8 or 9, he says, Punarapi Jananam, Punarapi Maranam, Punarapi Janani, Jatare Shayanam, Iha Samsare, Bahut Tustare. This life is very difficult. Iha Samsare, Bahut Tustare. What do you need to make it easy? Kripaya Pare, Pahi Murare. Surrender to him. Surrender means surrender what? Not your gold, your wealth, your well-wishers. Surrender your mind. Manasa bhajare guru charanam. Dusthara bhava sagara taranam manasa bhajure guru charanam. Dusthara bhava sagara taranam. Surrender your mind to me, and I will take you across this sagara of life, samsara sagara. In fact, you look at Swami's 108 names, Ashtotra, I think verse 91. Om Sri Satya Sai Samsara Dukashayaharaya Namaha. Dukashayaharaya Namaha. Surrender and he will take away all your dukkhas. Sukha, dukkha. So if you take away dukkha, what do you have? Sukha. And you have to decide, you want physical sukha or eternal sukha. Again, choice, right? Choice. You see, the difference in the 7th avatar with Rama and the 8th avatar with Krishna. In the 7th avatar, Rama never had a choice. If you look at all the 7 kantas, if you followed my Ramayana, you will know this, right? Rama never had a choice. Always he had to do something because of the interest of other people. You know, because Kaikeyi was being satisfied, he had to go to the forest. Then he had to go because Lakshmana was injured. Then he had to go and look after Sita. Then he had to come back. And then he had to go again. You know, everything was done for the interest or benefit of other people's happiness. So Rama had no choice in anything. And he was merely carrying out his duties. Right? That is why he is the epitome of, you know, how duty should be done without question. Right? Today you ask some people to do something, they'll ask you why 100 questions before they actually do it. Right? So with Krishna, it was totally different. He gave a choice to everybody at every point in time. Everyone he came in dealing with, right? Everyone, whether it was the Pandavas, whether it was the Kauravas, whether it was, you know, Kunti Devi, whether it was Vidura, whether it was Dhritarashtra, whether it was Bhishma, or whether it was Draupadi. Everybody he gave the choice. So these are the cards. Put them on the table. Make your choice. That was in Dwapara Yuga. Can you imagine in Kali Yuga? So definitely we have the choice and we do make the choice. So why, when something takes place as a result of you consciously making a choice, why is it that you always blame others? Because you are vibrating at the lower level of knowledge. When you vibrate at the higher level, you will not blame others. Rather, you will question yourself. Why did this happen? What did I do to make this happen? What did I do to bring these consequences about? That is higher level, self-audit. Right? So the Upanishad says, don't be foolish and trail the path of those, you know, who are vibrating in the lower levels. Set your own path. If a blind man leads another blind man, both do not progress in their journey. But if a man with one eye is leading the blind, there will be some progress. If the man has got both eyes, then there'll be complete progress. Right? So don't cheat yourself. As they say, in the land of the blind, the one-eyed is the king. And in the land of the one-eyed, the one with 2 eyes is a bigger king. The 2 eyes is mind, manas, and intelligence, buddhi. These are the 2 eyes that you need to move you from one level to another level. So if you master the first Mundaka, which is Brahman, is the inner self of all things, right? Through that knowledge, then you come to the second Mundaka, which confirms that Brahman is the inner self of all things. It is continuously evolving. You are set down. Does that move? You cannot see the earth revolving, isn't it? Does that mean the earth is not going round? You can't see the sun. Does that mean the sun is not there? Nighttime, the moon comes, 15 days you can see, 15 days you can't see, Does that mean they're not there? They're all there. Everything is still moving. Why are you not moving forward? Some people say I have very good eyesight. Some people say I hear very well, This is the Brahman in you. The Brahman is always, Brahman is born of breath, mind, sensory organs, and of course the Panchabhuta, space, air, light, water, earth, everything is Brahman. Panchabhutas, Panchakoshas, Pancha-indriyas, Pancha-jnanas, Pancha-yajnas, Pancha-yogas, everything is Brahman. When you know that one thing is consistently reverberating in all of this, and it is also vibrating in you centrally, then the task is to jump from outside to inside. And that is where the problem is, because that jump means taking out all your desires. That jump means taking out all your limitations. That is where the difficulty is. That is where the difficulty is. Because it's very difficult for one to reach that level of realizing while still attached to the world, right? So from higher knowledge, you realize in the second Mundakam, Brahman is everything, right? And then the third one is telling, so reach the highest oneness in all beings. That is, realize the Brahman in everything. And we can't say we don't know how, because Krishna has said in the Gita, serve everyone. Whatever you serve, don't have anything that you want back in return. Serve without expectations, without any fruits. And thirdly, realize that the Atma in you is the same Atma in everyone else. How can you say you don't know how to get there? That's because you're not practicing, or you're not practicing enough, or you just don't bother with that. So the third Mundaka actually tells you the story of two birds. And many have referred to this, right? Vivekananda has spoken about it. Ramana Maharishi has spoken about it, right? Ramakrishna has spoken about it. Many have referred to this. And I'm sure Swami has as well. Two birds, the story of two birds. Right? Some of you might know this. Inseparable friends. They cling on to the same tree, right? One bird is at a lower branch and one bird is at the higher branch, right? The lower one is always looking at the higher one, but it's busy, eating the fruits, the leaves, the flowers. It's very, And then on and off, it looks at the higher bird. Oh, you're sitting there. Tick, 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 tick. Oh, you're sitting there. But the higher one is completely detached. It's just sitting there, not affected by anything. While this fellow is so busy, engaged with all the things that are happening around. So basically, the bird that is busy is you, and the bird that is sat there just looking and observing everything that is happening is your soul. That is the Brahman in you. See, the detached on the same tree, perched at one low level of branch and one high level of branch. This is the higher knowledge and the low knowledge, right? So you are Jivatma, you're always busy with everything you want to do. On and off you see, oh God, Isha Vasyam Jagam Sarvat, God is the universe. But you cannot relate to Lord of the universe if you cannot relate to the Lord within you. What's the point? So start with yourself and then start with others. Then realize that actually it is universally present. You don't talk about omnipotence, omniscience, and omnipresence if you don't, relate that to yourself. So when he sees that Isha sitting there in full content, in full bliss, I want to go there. How? Just by sitting in the same branch, you can't go. You must go to the higher branch. That higher branch may have less fruits, less flowers, less leaves. That's the risk you must take. That's the commitment you must make. That's the dedication you must have. That's the perseverance you must have. Then you go say you're nearer to that Isha. Then you say, I want to go a little bit higher. Little bit higher, there may be just a branch with no fruit, nothing. Go there, then you are nearer to the Isha. The next stage is attaining the Isha. This is the story of two birds, right? Jivatma and Paramatma. You must use the Karma Kanda to get to the Jnana Kanda. I've always said this and I keep repeating this, right? And the knowledge has to be given from the teacher to the student so that the student can himself become a teacher. And once you become a teacher, who teaches the teacher? No one, because the teacher has the ability to extract knowledge from the universal energies. And many times I've told you, I never change where I sit because where I am set, the energy chakras are open. And you can see, I always say, to you it might be a picture, but if I just put my head and touch the picture, I can feel a sense of energy. I can feel it. Because I don't close my mind to saying this is just a picture. I'm saying this is you in this form, right? That's like Ganesha has an elephant face and a human body. He is now in the frame. So I say, now put your hand in my head and tell me what I should say to these people who are all listening eagerly, wanting to know something. Some things I may be able to say, but other things you tell me and I will say. And then boom, I am telling you. And then after I tell you, I wonder to myself, as I am continuing to talk to you, I wonder, where did I read that? Where did I see that? Why did I hear that? And man says, you didn't see that anywhere. You didn't hear that anywhere. Nobody told you this. I'm saying, thank you. That is how God relates to you. You must reach out and you must be totally helpless. Then he will take over the reins. And I've told you that's what Krishna did. And Arjuna completely surrendered. He never even told Krishna one day during the war, go to this direction, go to that direction. He was just ready with the bow. Wherever you go, I will fight. That is total surrender. Right? Arjuna was a great warrior, was a great archer, but he never told that Parthasarathi where to go. It's like, the boss gets into the car, tells the driver office. He doesn't tell the driver, take this route, take that route, take that route, take that route. Because the driver knows which route is the best route to take to get you there. You just need to say where, not the route, right? But we don't question it, isn't it? When we put the satellite navigation on, we never question it. We just follow, dot by dot, we follow. So, the second is telling you how to get the first, right? That means from becoming your outward self, how do you realize your inner self, and then how to make that inner self connect with the Brahman. The transcendent and the immanent aspects of the Supreme Reality is what the second Mundaka is all about. Like a spider. Have you seen a spider? I mean, there are lots of documentaries, right? David Attenborough, many documentaries. You will see how the spider weaves its own magnificent web. It manifests that magnificence, and then it makes sure that it does not get caught in the very web that it has created. So when it moves very cleverly, because the web can catch, isn't it? It can catch anything that sits on it. So the creator of this wonderful magnificence called the web of life has put you there so that you get the intelligence of the spider so that you can move, uncaught. The whole web is the Brahman, right? When you get caught, it's Brahmamaya. Sarvam Brahman, Sarvam Brahmamaya. Maya nashti, jnanam jasti. Right? When the Maya goes, the jnana takes over. Right? So you see, the objective world is the product of the creator-creation complex. It is true, it is factual, it is useful, so long as you are not attached to the reality. Once you're attached to that reality, the web becomes immaterial. Right? And as long as you're living in the world, material world, everything will be characterized. This is a holy activity. This is a sacred activity. That is a useless activity. This is a bad activity. This is a negative activity. Whereas when you are dealing with Brahma, everything is just an activity. The characterization is removed. So you will only do what you have to do. The seeker must seek the right thing so that when he gets the right thing, he attains the right status. You know, that is the story of the two birds, isn't it? Always you are there, he is there. But you are so busy in your own world that you fail to latch on to the one that is always sat there above you, perched, still within you. Right? Like you are vibrating at the Mooladhara chakra and you refuse to going up. Yeah, you refuse to go up further. And he's vibrating at the Sahasrara chakra. He says, come, I'm waiting. You know, but desire, Ichcha Shakti, right, has overtaken you so much that you are still in the level of Apara Vidya and you find it difficult to go to Paravidya. That's the problem, because our karmic actions are so bound, right? The other day, somebody called me and said, their sister's child passed away, their niece, 6 months old. And the first question they rang me in, first they said, my niece has died, sister's child. I said, how old? They said, it's only 6 months old. I said, was it because of any illness or sickness or They said, no, the child was fine. We went to sleep the next day. It was cold. And I said, don't get me wrong when I say this, I said, that child has settled its karmic debts. Far more luckier than you and I, who are still living and living through and paying for our karmic actions. That little bit debt was there, so the child had to take the birth of Punarjanmaha to solve that. 6 months was it. It served it and then it's gone to God. Remember, right? When you go for an interview, you might get a job. So the call for an interview is always received with the perspective of getting that job. You don't go for an interview with the thought of, I'm not going to get this job. Because if you think like that, then why go? Why bother? So when you get a disease, there are two possibilities. Either you will suffer and that suffering is prolonged because of your own karmic actions, karmic debts. Some of you may find this difficult to accept. Some of you may find it easy to accept. Some of you may not accept it. That's not the issue. The issue is the fact is the laws of karma operative, right? No one can deny it, right? Even the gods, through their avatars, have proven that karma exists, right? So I told this person, I said, explain to your sister that everyone has a journey to make, right? 10 people will run a race and everybody doesn't finish at the finish line at the same time. They're all good runners. Only the first, second, and third gets recognition, isn't it? Likewise, in life, some of us will run the race very fast and reach the finishing line first. Some of us will take our time. Some will sprint, some will run, some will jog, some will walk. Eventually, we reach the finishing line. So I explained that and I said, I hope you understand what I'm saying, right? Life and death is not in your hands. It's what you have done, what you've accumulated, what you have done, what you've given, what you've thought, what you've said, what you did, what you've done. All that collectively comes, and your next birth is. Last week I told you, how is your next birth determined? The last thought, right? So that is why always think of God at all times, and you won't have a problem, because your final thought will also be that. If you're thinking work, money, next life you may be born as currency, money in everybody's hand, right? So Mundaka is very, very sacred like that. It talks about the upadana. Padana is the material cause. And in that material cause, you'll see the nimitta karana, which is the material cause, instrumental cause. So the relationship between the material cause and the instrumental cause. Right? Through Prakriti, nature. How these two relate. Material cause, instrumental cause using nature. You take mud. From that mud, you can make a beautiful pot. You take cotton. From that cotton, you can make a beautiful cloth. You take gold. From that gold, you can make beautiful jewelry. So it is not the jewelry. Jewelry sells at a certain value, but the value itself is not the shape or the form of the jewelry, it's the gold, it's the amount of gold, isn't it? So material cause and instrumental cause is what you should be focusing on, whether you want to be something that appears or something that is. Is or appears. Is the lower level. Oh, sorry. Is the higher level. Appears is the lower level. Appears aparavidya. Is paravidya. So do your duty, but make sure you are always connected. It's like everywhere people go these days, right? The only thing I hear is, has it got Wi-Fi? Has it got Wi-Fi? Has it got Wi-Fi? Why? Because I want to connect to the cloud. Everywhere you go, that's the first question people ask, has it got Wi-Fi? It used to be a question where has it got parking space? Now the question is Wi-Fi, right? That's why they say, that's why you will see, and I've spoken about this before as well, right? How in all the Hindu rituals, they use fire, right? Either fire in the form of Agnihotra or Yajna. Yajnaya yajnamaya janta deva athani dharmani pradhamanyasan, Purusha Shuktam. Why fire? Well, they use all the Panchabuddhas. There's water there. You serve, Achamaniyam samarpayame, water. Then Dhupam samarpayame, space, Akasham. Earth, you're set on earth, down on the floor. You're connected. And of course, fire. All the Panchabuddhas are there. Fire is the only element in the 5 Panchabhutas that is beyond pollution. Water can be polluted, yes. Air can be polluted, yes. Space can be polluted, yes. Earth can be polluted, yes. Fire cannot be polluted. That is why it is the purest of pure. And that is why we use it in Agni Havans, Agnihotras, Yajnas, Homams, because it has the capacity to reduce everything to one state of being and to communicate that one state to the ultimate state. So we put dravyas inside, and every dravya has got a different significance. Many times, if you've been there watching me do havans, I take more time explaining what I'm doing rather than doing what I'm supposed to do, right? Because that is where the education, that is where the knowledge is. So why do you put this into the fire, right? Why do you put dried cow dung into the, what is the benefit? Why is this done? So when you know the why, then it doesn't take you long to get there, right? The distance between you and liberation is your mind, how long your mind takes to measure that distance and go to that distance. No, that's why they do this Agnihotras, havans. You show light, the light of your own wisdom. Give me this light. If you want to reach Brahman, and Brahman is the target, then your mind is the arrow. So Om, use Om as the arrow and target Brahman. Om is the arrow and Brahman is the target. Third Mundaka says this. Paramapurusha, Jiva Purusha. Paramapurusha, eternal, real and pure. Jiva Purusha has that capacity, but still is not aware and has not realized it. So he suffers in the cycle or the bondage of birth and death. And because he's unable to come out of that cycle, he is continuously revolving in the same cycle, like the spokes of a wheel, right? Until you take the spoke out, it will always continue to revolve, isn't it? All creation radiates from. When I did karma, I spoke about the wheel, right? And how Brahman is the center of the wheel. Center doesn't move, the wheel moves. Right? So the mind is your instrument to the central hub. Mind. So how do you turn inward? That's the main question, right? How do you train the inner consciousness to meditate on that Om, single pointed attention? Like I said, the first thing you got to do is tame all the outside sounds. So find yourself a spot where you are comfortable. You sit comfortably. Right? Some people say, what if, I have certain physical conditions where I can't sit? Lie down. Sit on a chair. But make sure your back is erect, either vertically or horizontally. Right? Then only you can invoke and inculcate the jnana, and that jnana can help you to realize the Brahman by self-realization. The moment you get the self-realization, the self is Brahma, Brahma is the self, you realize this, that's it. You're no different. You become very powerful. And meditation can help you do that. And many times I've said, read the Narayana Suktam. Read means not chant. Read, see the meaning of that. Right? Narayana Upanishad. Very powerful. So Brahman, to realize Brahman, understand one thing, he is beyond rituals, he is beyond asceticism. And he is present in you through the 5 vital airs, prana, apana, udhana, vyana, and samana. So every day you are using these 5. That is why you go to all these temples, and I've said this to you before, when they give the Naivedya or the prasad, they say Om Prana Yaswaha, Om Apana Yaswaha, Om Udana Yaswaha, Om Vyana Yaswaha, Om Samana Yaswaha, and then the final one is Om Brahmane Swaha. So they have used the what you call the Pancha Pranas. They have used the Pancha Pranas through the Pancha Bhutas to reach the ultimate Brahma. So you can't say, oh, but we only serve the food. How do we know God has taken it? Well, there you go. The pranas, the Pancha Pranas, and of course the Pancha Bhutas. That's the penetration, right? So once he has taken that essence of the offering, what you're eating is, the remnants. The difference between inner consciousness and the supreme consciousness. If you take out, once you realize that the inner is no different from the self, and the self is the very supreme, then you take out that, and the consciousness merges with the consciousness, it becomes one. You can't tell which consciousness is what. It is one, singular, right? That is Brahman, right? So let me finish by telling you a story. Some of you might have heard this story, but it's quite poignant because of everything that is happening in the world, right? How can we continue? How can we persist? What sort of vairagya do we need if we want to, move on in the spiritual life? So much of sadness happening, so much of challenges, so much of problems. Brother, how can I? My question is, why can't you? Why can't you? Why can't you? So there was 4 candles, right? They were all burning in this dark room. And they started to talk to each other. So the first one said, oh, hello, my friends. My name is Peace. Peace. And I am very, very sad today because the world has forgotten that I exist. Even though I am burning, but I am burning amidst a lot of darkness. There is no peace in this world today. Everybody is at each other. Everybody is fighting with each other. There is no love between people, and there is no peace. So I do not want to live in such a world anymore. So I am going to switch myself off and I'm going to burn myself out. And saying that, it burnt itself out and it died. In the second candle spoke, he said, my name is truth. I too am suffering in the entire world of darkness or asatya, untruth. People are lying all the time. Governments are lying, politicians are lying, family members are lying, friends are lying, relatives are lying. Everyone is lying to one another because of their own self, desires or wishes or agenda. So I too have no desire to live in such a world anymore. I too will burn out and die, just like my friend Peace. And Truth also died. Then the third one spoke. He says, it is very difficult for me to continue to live in this world when there is no more love that is being shown, because my name is love. And I live in a world where every day is a battle. It's a battle for love to show itself. It is a battle for love to manifest itself. And everything has been built on the basis of love. But now everything is destroyed because of the absence of love. So I must say that I too have no longer got the desire or the want or the wish to continue living in such a nasty world. And having said that, that too went out and died. Now the final candle was flickering. At that time, a young boy entered this room. And he said, why? What has happened here? Why? There were 4 candles burning. Then the 4th candle spoke. He said, well, where there is no peace, peace doesn't exist. So peace left. What about the other 2? Well, where there is no truth, and truth is not appreciated or practiced, truth too will leave at some point. And the 3rd one, that was love. Where there is no love, how can anybody exist? So love too left. Boss said, oh, please, you don't leave. We need some light. Then the 4th candle said, don't worry. I will always be here. And I will always give whatever light I can to light up not just your life, but anyone who takes me in and lights me, I will give them some light. And the boy said, oh, that's really good to know, because we need something like that to keep us going. But by the way, what is your name? And the 4th candle said, my name is Hope. So all the candles burnt out, peace burnt out, truth, love, all burnt out. Hope continued to flicker amidst the encompassing darkness. So the moral is, as long as you don't give up, as long as you have this vairagya or determination on the basis of hope, nambikai, and you'll get self-realization, because that hope will keep you going. You only fail in order to get up and try again and succeed. No one has succeeded without failing. No one has. Everyone has failed. That's why I always say, every sinner has a past, Every sinner has a future, and every saint a past. Every sinner has a future. Every saint has a past, right? So hope, be hopeful. Never let hope die down, right? Continue to do whatever you do. And soon enough, you will have that realization that the Brahma within you will reach the Brahman that is you. Anyada sharanam nasti tvameva sharanam mama. Tasmat karunya bhavena raksha raksha. Ishvaraha. Hari Om Tat Sat. Sai Ram.